Welcome to today's special Tech Talks. I'm joined today by my colleague Kat Covell. Guess what? It's time to see what she looks like.
Hey, Will Murphy!
Today's special Tech Talks is what we refer to as support from coast to coast. And guess what? The whole team is joining. So my other colleague, you've heard him on these Tech Talks before, Spencer Michaels.
Hey, everybody.
And another guest that we have today is Ryan Kannerick.
Hey, everybody!
You know, it's interesting. We happen to all be in the same location today. So Kat, Spencer, and myself are actually based out of our Los Angeles office. Ryan normally works from our New Jersey office, but he's joined us in Los Angeles this week. So we thought we'd have a little symposium roundtable discussion about doing software support at ACK Lighting, what we do on a daily basis, unique questions about Grand MA software. We thought we'd try to cover a few of the common questions, and even somebody asked what's the weirdest question we've had. So we do have the ability to screen share if we get into any software things, but for now, Kat's going to play a little bit of MC today.
A little bit of MC today. All right. Well, the first thing on our agenda is we want to talk a little bit about ourselves and tell you how we got started here and all that jazz. Does that sound good to you guys? Let's start off with Spencer.
Hey.
Hey.
So I joined ACT almost 2 years ago. I'm coming up on my 2-year anniversary. I graduated from the University of California, Santa Barbara in 2014 with a degree in light design. And then I had actually met Will at a master class for concert lighting in that December in 2013. And he was like, yeah, we always need tech support people. You should send me your resume. I was like, okay, here's my resume. He's like, hey, you want to come check out a training session? I was like, yeah, sure. So I graduated that summer, checked out the training session. He was like, did you like it? I was like, yeah, my brain is melting out of my ear, but I could get into this. So he's like, come on back and intern. And then 3 months later, hired me full time. And 2 years later, here I am, building fixture profiles.
All right. Spencer, our resident fixture profile guy. Ryan.
Let's see. So I went to school I majored in music and minored in theater arts, and I've always done lighting stuff on the side. And then when I graduated, I ended up working for a dance convention and touring with them for 5 years. And then somewhere in that time, I actually took an MA class taught by Mr. Will Murphy, and then ended up not using it at all, of course, so I forgot all of it. And then while I was on tour, we used AVO consoles, and I had got taken an AVO class by one Mr. Doug Mechanic, who some of you may know. He used to be on our tech team. Now he's on our sales team. But he, in the interim, had started working for ACT. And every year at LDI, I'd say hi to him and, how's it going? And after I left that touring with that dance convention, I was a freelancer in the New York and Central Jersey area. And LDI of 2014, I said hi to Doug, and he was like, how's it going? And I was, freelancing, and I'm, looking into full-time gigs maybe somewhere. And he's like, oh, you should come join us. And then, 2 months later, I interviewed with Will again and started that January, and have been here since.
Killing it.
Yeah, awesome. Will, do you want to go, or shall I? I think we should leave Will for last.
Okay.
He's the most interesting. All right, so I also started out with going for a degree in lighting design. Didn't finish it because I wanted to tour so badly. So I toured for years and years and years with Celd Entertainment, Ringling Brothers, and Disney on Ice, and Marvel, and all of that. From there, moved to Vegas to work for Cirque. From there, met Mr. Will Murphy when he taught a class on the MA1, which I did get to use actually at the Le Rêve Encore Theater. So that was pretty cool.
There's actually a good little story there. I was sent out there to teach a class on Grand MA2.
Which I was supposed to be taking as well.
With a bunch of Grand MA1 consoles.
Yeah.
So that was fun. I was like, oh, good thing I know something about Grand MA1.
Which is funny, I was actually being sent to a show with the MA2, and so they made me take the MA1 course to learn the MA2. So, yeah, sure, but no. So, kept in contact with Will over the years, and probably about a year before I came out to actually work here, I came out to actually see the place, talk to Will, talk to Mario. It took us about a year or so to get me in here. I've been here just about 2 years, same thing. We're all kind of at that 2-year point, I think. Yeah, man, that's history, I think. Will Murphy,
Cool.
you're on the spot.
Will Murphy. Yeah, my industry life dates back to when I was 6 years old, and went to a Phantom of the Opera show, and apparently told my father I wanted to go to the stage, and was just staring up at the lights all day. So had some fascination with lighting all these years, but started where a lot of people do, doing theater and stuff in high school, and couldn't pick which component of it I wanted to work in, so I went to school for electrical and computer engineering. Loved the industry, was looking for something that use my engineering skills that also could help make technology better for the industry. Had ETC training, did HOG training, stumbled upon ACT for MA, and they were looking for tech support. Sounded interesting, so I actually started out at our Jersey office. Been here over 6 years at this point. So I started out as tech support, eventually took over the role of the director. I run this team now, keep them in line, try to keep the information going to the community accurate and specific way. I additionally take on the role as the liaison for MA North America. So since we take on the role of the manufacturer, we collect all we do all the R&D for North America here. We collect all the bugs and wishes, and I communicate very closely with the product manager of MA Lighting, the MA International, and the factory over there, so that our market and our customers really do have a direct connection to the factory, and this team is a part of that entire process. So, a little bit of a background.
Awesome. So this is to the group here. What was it like to learn the software when you first joined up? Actually, I want to start with Will, because you actually started with the Grand MA1 being still kind of.
I was a ETC nut for a long time because I was doing a lot of theater work and got into moving lights. So natural progression with ETCs, we go to the EOS, but as my engineering brain would go crazy because it wouldn't do something that I knew was possible if you coded it. The popular console in New York at the time, 8 to 10 years ago for moving lights was HOG, which is why I ended up working on HOG desks for a while. But the 2-day course that I took on Grand MA at ACT Lighting in New Jersey was like the best thing ever, because this MA1 could do anything. Now, this is funny because I look back on that now and I'm like, the MA1 can't do anything. You need Grand MA2 that can do anything. But my first 6 months at ACT Lighting, really learning, having to know absolutely as much as possible about this platform, was stressful. I was dreaming about the software. I couldn't stop thinking about it, tearing my hair out. It really took me 6 months to 1 year before I felt like I actually knew the software. And that's something that I keep trying to tell our customers and our users, that you cannot learn this console overnight. You don't learn it in a week. You don't learn it in a 2-day class. You keep working and working and working at it. And I still constantly feel like there's more to know. There's still things I don't know. the reason I enjoy this job is because it's endless. There's endless possibility. There's endless ways of using the platform. We try to cater to every single market, architectural integration, TV, theater. It's just fun. It's such a mixture of everything.
Hey, Will, are you a master of the software?
I am not a master of the software. There's no such thing as being a true master. There's no such thing as actually using every single possible way of using this software. I say I'm pretty good at it. I feel pretty good about it.
Would you say all four of us combined equal, the ultimate MA user?
Well, I will tell you that's our goal as this team. We still have our days of getting stumped, and that's where we go to the R&D, and I get to try to stump them.
Awesome. Spencer, what was it like learning the software?
Well, like I said in my intro, I came from theater, so we had an Ion and Express, so it was very foundational in terms of programming. And then I took the class with Will, and it ended up being a VPU class as well. So I was just completely like eyes glazed over, brain melting out of my ears. He was like talking about video things, and I'm coming from the Ion, like, oh, what is this? But I like the challenge. I mean, it does take a long time to learn something and then practice it and then test something and then practice it again. It's just kind of this constant evolution of learning the software, and it's not something like Will said that you learn overnight, something that you need to practice like homework or like learning a language. Same thing. If you stop using this language, then you forget it. But it's kind of like riding a bike at the same time, where if you pick it back up again, you can continue to grow. But it was a really interesting transition from the Ion to the MA2 really quickly. And actually, Will had me start with fixture profiles as my first thing to learn and master, well, not master, but excel at with the MA2 Software's fixture profiles, and then from there, kind of kept going.
That's where I started.
See, I would say you just actually saw a really good part of Spencer. He is our resident analogy, I say, master. That was very good analogy with the language thing and everything.
The double analogy. Riding a bike and learning a language.
Exactly.
Riding a bike while learning a language.
I would say when I first started out, Will just kind of locked me in the old shop basement and told me to read the manual, and then told me to read it again, and then told me to read it again. And so whenever I get asked that question, I think the first thing I tell everybody is read the manual, do all the tasks, do everything it tells you to do, and then read it again. And then a couple weeks later, read it again. And then a couple years later, read it again, because you're always going to find something in there that, inspires you, because you're going to, oh, I forgot that existed. Wait, did I ever know that existed? Wait a second. All right.
Well, like when you read a book and then you read it the second time, you pick up on nuances that you missed the first time.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Another analogy.
Yep, there you go.
You also have to consider about the manual writing process. They add a feature to the software. The manual writers realize, oh, we should explain this a little further. They go add it to the manual. But the release note is a little line. Yet there's a full-on explanation in the manual, but the release notes don't point to the manual because the manual gets written, much after the release of the software. So it's always good to go back.
For me, so I'd had a lot of experience programming AVO and some experience programming ETC stuff, mostly Ion. I'd also taken like the CAMSYS training, and so I've had a pretty good handle on the concepts, and it was a lot more kind of translating it to MA. But there was still like the first, my first week here, I had sat through like the 2-day class, and then I was the only person in the New Jersey office. So after Doug came in and taught that class, he was like off traveling again, and I was just kind of there in that office by myself trying to figure stuff out. So I took some paperwork from a couple like of the more recent shows that I'd worked on, and just kind of started doing those same shows from scratch in MA. And, just kind of work through things and, get to a point where I was like, I don't know, and so I figured it out. Also, if there was a point where I got stumped, rather than being able to just for instance, somebody else in the room would have to be like, hey, Will, how do I do this? So, and then at the end of the first week, it's like, oh my God, my brain is so full. And Will was like, yep, you're going to feel like that for a year.
This is true.
Yeah.
He had a year, and he was.
Yeah,
so
I don't know.
great.
Yeah.
I don't think I believed him until after the 1 year mark hit, and I was like,
Oh yeah,
okay.
the learning curve has kind of leveled off a little bit. I mean, I'm still learning stuff, but it's not like, you know.
It's not mysterious. Right. It's not mysterious.
Yeah.
So that's true about stress dreams too. I would have dreams about macros.
Macros. I still dream about building macros.
That's an interesting tidbit that Ryan pointed out, you know, about texting us and messaging us. You know, he's based in New Jersey. The system that we've set up here through chat and supported acolyting allows instant intercommunication between our team. So that's one of the things we highly encourage you to email supported acolyting instead of contacting us directly, because we're able to communicate a lot faster with each other. No single person can know the absolute answer to anything. So even people, you know, they email me and I'm like, I forgot the easy question. Hey, who knows the easy question? You know, we're able to communicate faster. So
Hey, well, this actually reminds me. How would you define what we do, since you're on that role right there with the support and everything? Kind of define what we do to kind of roll into that.
Define what we do.
Yeah, define what we do here. What do we do here, like on a daily basis? I mean, other than answer support questions.
Yeah, we're not just a software support team. We don't sit in cubicles waiting for phone calls and emails. We're an integral part of ACT Lighting in relation to the MA software. So, you know, we take on the role of educating the users. From a support standpoint, it's not just solving issues, we're educating people. So one of CAT's main roles is the education program at Acolyting, dealing with curriculum and the information that we put out there. So if you navigate to our classes page, the classes tab, you see some of the stuff that we do from the education work. So we're sitting here writing curriculums, and Ryan is managing those bulletins that you see under our support tab. So he tries to get them formatted and grammatically correct, even though we all participate in writing.
Very much grammatically correct.
Yeah, really, Ryan just knows how to spell. That's all I do.
It's about getting information out there. I participate in the ACT system integration work with the sales team, because we support the sales team as well. So if there's installations going on, you know, one of my favorite ones that I like is the Empire State Building. Is Grand MA2 controlled with VPU. It's a whole pixel mapping installation. They remote program it from Viz Studio in Texas, of all places. So they upload it there. So, you know, working with that team in order to get something that works for them is something that I'll do. We deal with prepping equipment. We help the sales team with demos. We're doing the trade shows. There's a whole lot of additional planning going on around in the background that, from a standard software support standpoint, you might not think. So I know one of the things we were going to talk about today is, you know, like when to call versus when to email. With our tools that we have available in email, where we can give you screenshots and videos and point you to links, and we've written all this stuff out, sometimes we can get you much better information when we answer via email instead of a phone call.
That, and it's a good idea to point out all of the different resources you have. Like, it's interesting that you mentioned, like, when is a good time to call, which I know that was one of the questions. And I would say if it's not, like, show is in 5 minutes, I would say after you exhaust all your resources, you got to understand the help manual is your resource, mashare.net is your resource, acolyting.com/support is your resource, Acolyting YouTube page is a resource. And after that, if you're still just completely like mind boggled as to how to do something, even if it's something simple, we can provide that third eye. We're looking behind you going, man, you forgot to hit the blind button, you know, kind of thing, you know? Like, come on. You forgot blind is on. Something like that. Yeah, program time is on. There you go. That's another one of those. Yeah, common ones.
Did I miss anything that we do? I mean, we're also participating in some of the feature ideas for the software, so people will send us wishes that our little snippets, we'll relate all of that from all the sources and potentially write a bigger concept. So we're working on that.
Also trainings, we're doing trainings.
Yeah, we're going to classes. We're doing classes all the time, either in our offices or on site somewhere or at a trade show.
The travel, like I guess maybe a lot of people don't realize, we're doing a lot of on-site classes, and that's another reason we want you to email support at ACT Lighting, because that avenue is something that we're constantly keeping an eye on, trying to keep somebody available. But Spencer goes for 2 weeks, you might not even have a chance to look at his email. So you want to make sure you email support at ACT Lighting. If somebody goes on vacation for a while, we're making sure somebody's available for support at ACT Lighting.
We take vacation?
Yeah, right.
When did that happen?
You're more than welcome to CC. Anybody that you're used to working with, by all means, CC me. It means that I will definitely take a look at it. Whereas, if you're just emailing support, there's a chance I might not take the time to look at it because we do deal with a lot of emails. There's a lot of emails coming in.
While we're on that subject, what do we want out of these emails? What do we want out of these phone calls?
I can tell you absolutely one very, very important thing to the entire team at ACT Lighting is serial number and version number. Guess what? I'm 2 versions ahead of you. The guy that called me yesterday is 3 versions behind you. If you don't tell me the version number, I have no idea what issue you might be dealing with. I might tell you that a feature is available and it's actually not because you're on an older version. Send the version number. From the hardware team, absolutely needs the serial number. People are like, should I upgrade my console? Well, guess what? The console has gone through hardware revisions. It's just a natural part of hardware availability. If you look in the computer world, the hardware is turned over once a year. So there's little hardware revisions. They need to know that. Same with fixtures. There can be revisions of fixtures as well. Please send the serial number because what you're doing is you're helping yourself get a faster answer.
Also, hey Spencer, what do you need for fixture profiles?
I was just going to say, there's like 4 or 5 things I'm always going to ask you. MA1 or MA2?
Or .2.
Or .2, but MA2 can kind of tie into .2. I might have to do a few tweaks. Also, what model is the fixture? Is it K10? Is it a K20? What mode are you going to be using it in? And when do you need it by? Those that's 4.
There's one very important one.
Sending the DMX chart.
And that
DMX
chart.
We can't magically know what the channel should be. And I'll give you a little history on that. Why is the DMX chart so important to us? Because of time. If you just tell us you have a clay pack is not a good idea. Elation Tripar? Is that an elation product? I apologize. I made something up.
We're clay packy folk over here.
Yeah.
Clearly.
We're aware that the internet exists. I know I could Google this product and go find the DMX chart, but guess what? Inevitably, we built the wrong one. So we don't want to waste our time. We don't want to waste yours. Go find the DMX chart. Whoever's providing you the fixture, ask them for the DMX chart. If a rental house is sending, ask them for the DMX chart so that you know for a fact you got the right channels to us so we can help. Additionally, Spencer wrote an amazing fixture profile encyclopedia. This is really your job as the programmer. It's in the software. I believe every programmer should know everything about the software, and that includes how to build fixture profiles. People sometimes get frustrated with me that they bought this desk and the library file doesn't exist. If you've ever gone in there, there's about 8,000. It's a hard task to manage all of that. So if you find something in the internal library that's missing, let us know. We'll try to get it in there. If you find something wrong, let us know the bug and what's wrong. We'll get it fixed.
I have another thing that people should include in their emails, which is don't just say that, like if you tried something and it didn't work, don't just say, oh, it didn't work. Tell us what didn't work about it. Like, right, were you trying something and you got an error in the command line, or something happened but it wasn't what you expected, and if that happened, what actually happened, what were you trying to do, and what actually happened, not just it didn't work, because the way that it didn't work could give a clue as to what should happen instead.
I actually appreciate what you just said, the command line. I've had so many people that don't look at the command line response window. They're like, it didn't work.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, was there an error? What do you mean, was there an error?
Yeah.
Like, there's a command line feedback window that actually tells you stuff. If there's an error, you might know what went wrong. If it said store Q1 and the Q didn't show up, if there's no error and that syntax exists, then it did store Q1. It just didn't store where you wanted it.
Right.
Somewhere.
Yeah, and if you don't have a command line feedback window open, remember that you can always temporarily open one by tapping the yellow ball on the left side of the command line that's on screens 1 and 2.
I can show you that right here.
Right there. Yeah. Oh, boom.
When you click on it, I'm always on the phone and I'm like, can you open your command line feedback window? And I'm waiting like a minute. And I'm like, what are they doing? I'm like, hit the yellow ball. Like, what yellow ball? I'm like, nah, just hit the yellow ball. It's right there on screen 2. It's also on the little command screen. You know, I have a permanent one here, but if you didn't, you hit the yellow ball. So it's a quick way to see, you know, I think if we do a bunch of gargly goop, hey, error, that's why it didn't work.
I mean, that's not a keyword?
I think another helpful bit would be end goals. I think a lot of times someone says, you know, they give you the history of what they're trying to do. Well, I stored Q1 and it was fine. I stored Q2 and it was fine, but Q2 doesn't work. And that doesn't really tell us anything. Like, what's your end goal? What do you want Q2 to be doing that it's not doing? Same thing with, I think a lot of effects or macros are the same thing. Like, I'm trying to build this macro, here's all my syntax, and then we have to go, well, what are you trying to do?
What are you actually trying to accomplish?
Yeah. So end goals are so important to us.
Yeah, and I'll often ask people, don't ignore the syntax. Like, don't worry about what the syntax is, because that's what we're gonna figure out together. But what we actually need to know to figure out the syntax is, what are you trying to do? So just like explain in English, oh, I want a macro that'll do this and this and this.
Right. Yeah. I always ask people for layman's terms. You know, they start talking to me in the actual language of the desk, and I'm like, just layman's terms, because you have to realize that your approach might ultimately be more complicated than it needs to be, because I might remember some feature that does exactly what you want. There was a question today about that. I don't remember. Should I answer one of the questions? Guy wanted to know how to store null dimmer values. Because he used a layman's term, I can just go and tell him it's actually just an executor setting. So if you go to the title bar here, you're just going to enable Q0. So Q0 dimmers only, or just on. So in his case, since he's only asking about dimmers, I would say, you know, Q0 dimmer only. That says always store the dimmer value at 0 into the queue, even if it's not being used. And Q0 is in the help manual, so you can go read more about it. I think we even answered it in one of our previous tech talks.
Yeah, I think
there's
something in
tech
there.
talk.
Tracking.
It is tracking tech talk, yeah. So remember, if you go to our YouTube page, you can find the tech talks list. There's one in here about tracking. There it is. Watch that. It talks about Q0. So that's definitely for the guy that wants to know how to put a value of 0 when dimmer is not being used. Person.
And the one above that tech talk is the assign menu. All those options in there, Will goes through each one, describes what they do, which is also really helpful.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, Will, this one's for you as well, and I shouldn't have smashed my hand on the table there. Will, what do you define as an emergency situation?
Oh, geez, emergencies. It's very easy to understand an emergency. An emergency is a show-critical situation. It's referred to as a show-critical emergency, and it means you have no lights on your stage. That's it. If you have lights on your stage, that's what the audience is fine. They can see the show. I'm sorry if you're not able to step through your cues, but show-critical means no lights on the stage as a result of something wrong with the product that we support. So definitely keep that in mind when you're calling related to emergencies.
Right, and also, I mean, everyone's emergency is kind of personal, though, as well, and we understand that, but sometimes, what's one that you would say maybe, I mean, if my show is in a month from now, you know, it's not an emergency really. It's
People have told me they have an emergency because their 3D stopped working and for their show that they're trying to create next weekend. It's like, that's not an emergency. That's, you haven't learned how to troubleshoot your MA3D. And we understand that. You have to learn at some point, obviously, and that's what Kat's role is, to deal with getting information out there so you can learn it. Our hours are 8:30 to 5:30 Monday through Friday. We're a Monday through Friday company, normal hours. We're not a 24/7 company. I know
8:30 to 5:30 Eastern and 8:30 to 5:30 Pacific.
I know we're a 24/7 industry, but we're a distributor.
I think it's time for questions.
Sure.
All right. And this one's actually my favorite one. We got to think about this for a little bit before the webinar here. What is the weirdest question you've ever had to answer, and how often do you get stumped? I want to start with Will.
Oh, geez. Okay. I wrote down 3 because I thought they were kind of interesting. So these 2 weird ones, a guy wanted to know what the RGB value was of the desk lock screen.
Yeah.
It was gray. And it's like, well, that's weird. But I'm going to help you out. I just told him, I said, go use on PC, because you can lock on PC, and then you can use your little computer's color sampler. So it wasn't really an in-depth question. I just color sampled it. If you're curious, it's 20/20/20.
Wasn't there another one that was like the distance between pixels and the blank
Oh,
screen?
yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, there was one. It's related to these guys that do images in their layout views. So they wanted to know what the resolution was of the screens, which is 1200 by 800, I think.
On a console.
Yeah, on a console. Yeah. I actually don't remember. They were doing pixel perfect images on their console. I was like,
that's insane.
Probably should spend your time on other stuff, but maybe they have a lot of time. I don't know. I'm not going to judge. My favorite, it's kind of weird. I thought it was weird for the guy. He called me 4 minutes before his show started, and he's like, what's the login password? What's the login password? I'm like, the login password for what? I have Gram 2, and I'm at the login screen, and I was like, okay. Keep in mind, he didn't tell me that his show was about to start. He just got freaking out on the phone, and I'm like, I'm trying to help him along, because sometimes when people call, we try to not just answer the question, but try to teach them, how to learn themselves. So I'm doing my usual, let me teach you about this. And eventually it's like, my show starts soon. And I was like, what? Okay, administrator admin. If you're an MA user, you should know this.
Learn how to spell administrator. And admin is all lowercase. That is very important. That is very important. Yeah.
It's all lowercase.
However, here's what the best part of the story was, is at the end, it's like, so he's happy now. There's like 3 minutes before doors, and he's chilling out again. And
where's the show?
Sorry, the show.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, dude, how did you end up at the login screen so close to when your show starts? He's like, well, the doors opened like 20 minutes ago, and I got bored, so I started, fooling around on the desk, and I saw this login button, so I thought I should hit it. And I was like, okay, here's what I'm really going to teach you. When your console's ready to go for the show, you shouldn't be messing around on it.
You actually just reminded me of one. Okay. That story definitely segued into a really good one, which was a very panicked phone call that I received that someone was unable to patch, and he was just like I patched everything and nothing's there, and I was a little bit kind of sort of like listening to his panic mode and a little empathetic to his plight, until I realized that what he had done was patched everything, but he had not exited the patch. And so in his just horror, I was like, did you hit the little yellow X at the top? I don't know if you can show that on the screen. But you don't actually patch anything until you exit the patch. Therefore, his panic mode was suddenly just quelled, and I felt that weight of the shoulder lift off. Like, oh.
There it was.
But then my other favorite one, and this is my favorite of all time, which is an email and not a phone call, was I just received my desk, how do I turn it on? So that's my favorite.
a good one.
Yeah.
I always wonder if they're just messing with us. When
But it was an email. It wasn't an emergency. I mean, I just need to know how to turn it on.
Yeah.
Ryan, can you think of any?
I couldn't think of anything good.
No.
It all just kind of blurs together.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I could come up with one, like, if I looked back through them, but I couldn't think of anything specific.
It's kind of weird, but just more complex and integration of like VPU, CITP into 3 different panels. And then I was like, let me get back to you on that. And I tried for 3 or 4 hours using the Triple Head to Go demo show to get a source from one computer that was receiving video input from another computer and split it into 3 different CITP streams to go into 3 different panels. I was just like, this is so complex. Like, I tried for 3 or 4 hours, and then I got back to her and was like, I would recommend getting a VPU and SDI input, and then your problems will be solved. But yeah, complex. Makes my brain hurt just trying to think about the end goal and how to get to that end goal. But you did tell me this is what I want. How do we get there? Let me get back to you on that one.
There was the other part of the question about how often we get stumped, right?
Yeah.
I would say it probably averages out to, well, for me personally, like us as a team, I don't know, but for me personally, I'm probably like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times a week when I'm like,
I
what?
was say once a day. Once a day, maybe.
And I'm like,
averaged it out, it's probably.
I have no clue. Hey, Will.
If it's about MA1, hey, Will.
Yeah, that means I get stumped all the time because I get the complicated ones.
Complicated networking ones too.
Yeah. Actually, this is another really, really good one, which is what parts of the software still make you scratch your head when you use it. I'm just going to go with fixture profiles because I haven't gotten to spend as much time on fixture profiles as Spencer. Therefore, if you call confused about a fixture profile, I'm with you. I understand.
Like, I don't know. Let me transfer you to my buddy.
Yeah. I just turned to him with a puppy dog look in my eyes. Spencer. All right. What about you, Spencer?
I would say the moving paths. I'm still trying to get used to and like the different ways to use moving paths. I mean, I got down the up and down one, the left and right one, but then there's a rotate one, and then there's one that has all of them. But then using that with a stage marker and having like an external tracking source tell that moving marker to do something, it's something I'd like to look at further. Also, the XYZ stage positioning, I feel like would be really cool to learn and test. I haven't really had a good opportunity to test that yet, but we do have a demonstration, so I'll probably spend a few evenings messing around with that soon. But yeah, the XYZ stage position.
I would say moving paths and stage markers as well is something that I'm still working on getting my brain around.
This is why Will thinks I'm weird. All that stuff is
Yeah,
awesome.
like,
I love it. Yeah.
easy.
I don't. I'm fortunate enough that I don't get stumped regularly. I get stumped when new software comes out. Even though I'm going through the beta testing process, sometimes there's last-minute R&D changes, and these 3 guys are looking at me like, "How's this supposed to work?" And the customer's calling, "How's this supposed to work?" I'm like, "I don't know yet. I'm gonna have to sit down for a couple hours and see if I can figure this out." I had one of those last week, actually 2 weeks ago, with stage markers. We implemented stage markers that can rotate. I've known about this for like 2 months. I never connected the dots in my head. No customer asked about it, so I don't really bother the R&D. And I had the epiphany on my own, and I was like, "Oh, you're supposed to drag it over here." That makes sense now.
You showed that off at
Light
a
bulb.
trade show, right?
Yeah, we were at the Disney Tech Olympics, so I showed that off.
Yeah, I was shopping in that console that he had, and then all of a sudden there's this truss doing this and focusing on some light. It's like, what is going on? What is that?
Oh, I forgot you weren't here that day.
We'll actually have I will do a webinar in the near future about this because we are now able to automatically keep lights focused on a position while the truss is moving using stage markers. The information is fed from external systems. So very cool. We've had the up and down for a long time. We've had the object can move, but you couldn't move the truss. Now you can do both. You can move the object, rotate the object, move the
and the truss.
We're out of
Yeah,
job.
everything.
We're out
All
of
of
job.
it.
We're out of a
All
job now.
rotating and moving.
Yeah, there's no programming anymore. You just say, hey, lights here, done.
Yeah.
To go wherever you want.
All right, this is actually a really good one, and I think this is a Will question right here. MA1 ran for about 10 years. We're approaching the 10-year anniversary of MA2. Can we expect a similar upgrade cycle, or do you foresee the MA2 platform hanging around for a longer term? I ask from the perspective of someone who is looking to buy a full size next year, but don't want to shoot myself in the foot.
You won't be shooting yourself in the foot. The Grand MA2 is going to be around a long time. And as you look at it, we're still producing them, and it's an extremely powerful platform. If you consider people are still using their first Grand MA2s that they bought, minus a little bit of a hardware upgrade inside.
People are still using MA1s.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
The ruggedness of the Grand MA2 design, though, is a more longevity compared to Grand MA1. Grand MA1s are always like, receive this, that, etc. Grand MA2 is more rugged. So I think people are going to be using Grand MA2 well into the 2020s, and probably still going to be seeing it in 2030 even. It's just a good, like, what does it not do? You know?
I like the perspective from education standpoint. So if you become an MA programmer, you know from the MA1 that you have this 10, 20-year longevity with this console. So by learning the MA2, you know that you have this 10, 20-year longevity with this particular desk. So you know that if you know this console, you're employed, essentially.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all there is to know about it. So.
Well, if I remember correctly, the MA1 stopped being manufactured because the physical hardware couldn't keep up with the massive shows that were going on in 2008 forward.
Yeah, they actually hit they couldn't get the hardware anymore because it was such outdated hardware.
Mm-hmm.
You think about the computer, it was a 300 megahertz processor in 2000. By the year 2010, they were 3,000 megahertz. So we still had to get hardware that was that old. You just couldn't get it anymore.
Right.
After 2010, the computer hardware market is really kind of still plateaued. It's still effectively the same. So we're not talking about anything crazy. Grand MA2 is going to always fit into a certain part of the pyramid no matter what.
Cool.
Just like .2 is towards the bottom of the pyramid. Smaller show.
All right. Next question here. Should I update my MA2s to the pre-release version 3.2.2.3 now, or wait for it to go full release? This is an awesome chance to talk about what we've done with this pre-release.
I gotta show you the website. You all should just visit our website. As you know, we're MA North America. We always support all versions released by MA, no matter what. However, we have a very large market, and we have a very large dealer network, and they have grown accustomed to referring to our webpage for when they should update. And you'll notice the version 3.1 is still on the downloads page. Why? Because it works. What's wrong with it? It can do the shows. You don't have to update. I know your cell phone forces you to update every time you in lighting. If you can do your job with the current software, what is the point of dealing with the misery of having to learn a whole lot of new features that don't pertain to the needs that you have at the time?
Hey, when is a good time to not update?
In the middle of your show.
Or 10 minutes before.
Or 10 minutes before. Or
if you have a show that's running.
If you get on a cruise ship and you go to the ocean, don't decide just to update.
And you don't have internet?
When you don't have internet, and you can't go backwards or anything like that. Yeah, we've heard some weird ones. Yeah, I appreciate there's new features. You know what? Download on PC. Now, what we're doing with the Act pre-release is we're putting the information out there, trying to communicate with you more than we have in the past. And we said, first thing, as a result of some unintentional features, we decided to keep 3.2.2.3 on the pre-release page. Why? Because we want you to read these. There are a couple of things that can really affect your show, such as you can turn Speedmasters off accidentally. If you're using embedded presets, they are not updating correctly. Okay, if those are very important features to you, don't update. Why? However, yes, of course, there's a lot of new features. Bitmap fixture, for example, RDM. If you absolutely need those, then update. We haven't found any show critical bugs. Now, how do you stay informed of this? If you do this registration request, it's the support materials notification. If you just check this box and this box, we have actually communicated this information via this mailing list. We told people, we said, listen, we're keeping it on pre-release. We didn't find any show critical, so feel free to use it if you want. It's up to you. I'm not going to stop you. I'm just going to say, don't update and assume everything is perfect. We do a ton of beta testing, yes, but, you know, people use this software in so many ways, and in actuality, like, we're too perfect. We always do the right syntax, you know, we're not doing the wrong syntax.
Well, you know, you say it like that.
We run it we run it through our classes, so we had a tendency to catch a lot of bugs before we hit the release phase of, you know.
Well, like moving views, like that's one that none of us thought to.
Yeah, moving views. We never thought to test it. Ooh, I don't know. I got my views here.
Yeah.
I don't need to move them. There's a little thing.
All right. I have a good one. Actually, these are all just kind of sort of going towards Will here. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna direct this one at Ryan here.
Uh-oh.
Hey Ryan, how do you stop a running macro?
Off macro number, or go to the off menu and tap the macro.
You're answering it like a question. Off the macro?
Off the macro, duh.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
If you see here, off, you can go to the macro tab and off all macros. Or just tap on it, and then of course you could say off
macro, whatever.
Or if you have the
off macro through,
tool, you just tap it, or you say off macro through.
You can make a macro to off macros.
You could.
What?
God. All right. Okay, here we go. I got one for Spencer. Let's see. Hold on. I have to read some. I gotta find one. For Spencer.
The answer is yes.
It was actually, can I load MA2 patches on a .2? It's a .2 question. But I think Will already knows that one.
Can you load MA2 patches on a .2?
Mm-hmm.
No. .2 is only upwards compatible. They're separate product lines. You can take a .2 show file into a Grand MA2. We do share fixture profiles, but that's it. Now, people have asked that question before. We have put it on the wish list for .2. It seems like it should be possible, and so far when it comes to just the patch data, I don't see why it wouldn't be supported, but if you strongly feel that should be possible, email support@aclighting.com and we'll add your vote.
All right. I got one for you, Spencer.
Okay.
For real this time. This time, I'm sorry. All right. What are the most common questions that you receive?
I think, how do I connect my 3D to my console is a big one.
Oh, we have a bulletin about that.
And it's because we don't do, or lighting people don't do a lot of networking, and so IP addresses aren't really a knowledgeable thing. I was the same way. It maybe 6 weeks to figure out that I could run on PC and 3D on the same computer using the loopback IP address, or have it be a different one using the 192.168.0x IP address. But here's a sweet article that, who wrote this? Just the whole ACT staff?
Could be. Yeah, it was just by us.
Walks you through every step that I'm going to tell you on the phone. But, of course, if you read that, you don't get to hear my sweet voice over the phone. So it's up to you. I'm going to point you towards this.
Spencer's sweet voice or screenshots.
Or screenshots, yeah. Either or.
Regardless, I'm going to point you toward this article and be like, just for future reference, you have this awesome walkthrough. But this is definitely a very typical question that we get.
I'd say another one is, how do I output Artnet?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Really
absolutely. We have a bulletin for that.
Yeah, a bulletin. Using Artnet with Grand MA2.
Hey, I wrote that one.
Yeah.
That is a Spencer article.
Yes. And also below that, testing Artnet.
That one's so important. I've had so many people, if you don't know about that bulletin, especially in DMX Workshop, I feel like we've saved so many people's days by that piece of software.
It's funny how people like to automatically assume that the MA isn't working. the most expensive piece in their setup isn't outputting Artnet. Well, here is a great way to prove that it is outputting Artnet or
right,
etc.
or whether
Right. Or
whether it is or
it's
isn't.
just proving that you probably put something in wrong somewhere. You were off by one number,
Yeah,
and
it's
suddenly
always
your
one
whole
little
system's
thing.
not working. So
Right.
therefore, this is going to tell you that. So.
That's a really great point. There is in the support world a general support concept, not just our business. People have a tendency to always blame the most expensive item. Nobody knows why. I've made the assumption, I'm like, well, maybe it's because we answer the phone. I don't know.
Or maybe
They're always blaming. It's like the product that has the most R&D is obviously broken. Clearly. Why? There's a great article from a long time ago about DMX flavor issues.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's obviously not the light that I got from China. It's not. It's the MA2. Because of course we would output the wrong DMX. You know, it's very interesting. And same with bugs. Everybody always likes to email us. It's a bug. I'm like, no, it's actually not a bug.
It's actually a feature.
Yeah.
Right. You're
Yeah, exactly. Well, that you can get us down a rabbit hole as well. I've had people say, I found this bug, and I'm like, oh, you have found a bug, and then, I start going down that rabbit hole of, how do I get a workaround for this bug, and then it realized, oh, wait, I've been chasing a bug that's not actually a bug. You just need to do this instead. So you can very easily send us down rabbit holes when we're on the same page as you. So.
And to go on with that, if you find yourself in an issue, this is what I found with troubleshooting, and take a step back and think of the simplest way to achieve that goal, or find the simplest way of what the issue might be, and it's probably going to be that. We always like to overcomplicate things, like, well, we have all this connected to that and all these DMX cables. It's like, what's the objective? What is point A to point B? What is that straight line? Your answer is probably going to be somewhere in that field. So it's always good to just take a step back sometimes and realize, well, let's think about this simply. Oh, there it is, done. It wasn't plugged in.
Yes.
Yeah, I find a lot of times if I have an issue that I'm trying to work through, I might be talking to somebody or typing, like messaging somebody, and then as I go through the process of explaining what the problem is, I'll say, oh, that's the answer, right? When you're in it, you can't step back and think about it, but when you take a second to actually explain, pretend that you're explaining it to somebody else, and then you can say, oh, okay, this is probably what I need to do next.
Yeah, saying it out loud, definitely.
Yeah.
Or even talking to a colleague, like Kat will bounce an idea at me, and she'll go, oh, that's the question. That's
talking to yourself. I always say, when I'm programming, I'm talking to the console, myself, but
yeah.
I get answers. So, here you go, Will. Actually, this is kind of for all of us. Will the MA work with third-party Artnet devices?
Artnet devices?
Yeah, Artnet devices. How do we work with Artnet devices?
Oh, Artnet is a third-party open source protocol. It's the same everywhere if the manufacturers follow the spec document. But anything in the network protocols tab of the software is third-party.
Right, but how do I send Artnet? Do I need something specific to send Artnet? Where am I sending it from?
You do need to unlock parameters first. You can obviously download our software for free, but it does not output for free. You have to buy something from us, like a piece of hardware to us is like a dongle. So on PC Wing.
Unless you're on .2.
That's true.
Version 1228.
Thanks for chiming in.
.2 offers a free universe now, which outputs Artnet or SACN for free.
Just a quick plug for .2 on PC.
Yeah.
Good plug.
The outputting, actually setting up the Artnet is in that bulletin that I pointed out.
And what port does it output on with?
The second port, yeah, very important.
Okay.
So if you're using Grand MA2 on PC, it's very good to install 2 Ethernet adapters in your computer. One of those can just be a USB to Ethernet device. The on PC automatically finds the address with the 2. address. Now I know this, since we're talking about protocols, somebody asked about, can you license MA2? MA2 is something you can implement in any Windows-based software. It's against the rules to retransmit it via 5-pin DMX. It's only for receiving. That's why, Hippo can listen to it, Pandora can listen to it. Fisher Control Systems has a Windows-based software that you can just send MANet, because MANet, there's a DMX stream component, and then there's the sync of the consoles and show data and everything. But licensing it doesn't mean you get to use it for free. You still have to unlock parameters. Okay, so once you get the console and you've unlocked the 8,192 parameters with a full size, instead of Artnet, you could communicate to your Hippo via MANet, and then you'll have to deal with one network and one protocol, and you don't have to do network Artnet remapping or deal with multiple universes, etc.
I think a common misconception about Artnet is that it's this magical
Mysterious.
IP thing that sends signal. It's just a vessel for DMX.
Yeah.
Just like MA2Net is a vessel to send DMX. All those network protocols, ETCnet2, KaiNet, SACN, which we recommend, Pathport, ShowNet, these are all just ways to send DMX. You're still sending that signal 0 to 255 to your fixtures, just via a different boat.
Yeah.
Because DMX is essentially a protocol. So you're just if you think of DMX, Artnet's a protocol. If you think of SACN, it's a protocol. If you think of DMX, it's a protocol.
That's a good point. DMX protocol. The 5-pin DMX is not DMX. Everybody calls it DMX. It's actually RS-485. They carry the DMX single on serial RS-485.
And with that note, hey Will, this is actually a common question we see a lot in team support. I mean, I at least think about, in support. I think I've seen this one a couple times. Are there any plans for MA to implement the appearance keyword in regard to executors?
Yeah, there's no.
Next question.
Executors title bars so far have restricted color rules. Chaser is blue, normal executor is yellow, macro is red, effects are pink, group masters are orange. Okay, so recoloring this whole thing probably not going to happen with the appearance command. Now, the debate is still up in the air. What could we color? I don't know. Every little piece of interest, like pixel of space, is being used. So there's some ideas, but nobody's decided what's going to happen yet.
We still have a bunch of questions, but we have reached that hour, Will.
Yeah, we have reached that hour. Is there really one absolutely pressing question that you see there that has to be answered?
Absolutely.
I said boo.
No. Let's see.
Should I tell him how to take care of the beard?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question right there.
How you have this beautiful beard.
That is an important question.
You have to have a little Irish and Italian in you, so you get the full filler here, right? And then I use this thing called a trimmer. It cuts hair. It has a little attachment that gives me that perfect length.
I think one of our other support members should watch this webinar for that.
Yes. And then, as always, if you have an actual pressing question you need to ask us, email support@acolyting.com.
You can always email support@acolyting.com. We'll probably do another one of these in the future at some point. Keep in mind, our recordings sometimes fail because of how it all records up in the cloud, blah, blah, blah. So it's actually really cool to try to join our webinars. We love the live questions for sure. It keeps us going, keeps us on our toes. And this is Tech Talks is how we're getting to you, so you don't always have to come to us. And cool. Thanks, you guys.
Yeah.
As I usually say, happy programming.
Happy programming.